In this video, we will be continuing looking at how to work with the conic sections of circles. We will just now be focusing on how to write them in standard form and then to graph from them by identifying the center and the radius. So the first thing before I start these examples, I'm going to write down again the standard form. It is x minus h, that quantity squared, plus y minus k squared equals your radius squared. I want the equations to look like this before I can identify the center, radius, and graph. So in this first example, what I notice is I have an x squared and a y squared. I have an x term, a y term, and a constant. So what am I going to have to do here? Well, I see two quadratic terms, the x and the y are both quadratic, so I'm going to have to complete the square twice, one with the x variable and one with the y variable. So what I'm going to do to make that easier is I'm going to pair them together. I'm going to put all the x terms together, and I'll do it in parentheses. So I have an x squared, and I have a plus 16x. I'm going to have to complete the square with this, and so then I'm going to add in my placeholder for completing the square. And I have plus, I have a y squared, a minus 22y. And again, I'm going to have to complete the square with this, so I'm going to insert a placeholder. Now I notice here it's equal to 0. However, in standard form, we need a number here so that we can draw a circle. So that tells me this negative 20 needs to go to the other side. And so that means I would add it. So I would move the negative 20 to the other side and make it a positive 20. So now I complete the square. I'm going to do it underneath in a different color here. So you take half of your b value. So I take 16. And I'm going to divide by 2, and then I square that. So that's 8 squared, which is 64. Now remember, since I put a 64 here to keep this equation balanced, I'm going to also have to put a 64 on the right side. It's the same idea. I'm going to take half of negative 22 and then square it. So that's negative 11 squared, which is 121. So I put 121 here to keep the equation balanced. I'm going to have to put it on the other side as well. And so there's plus 121. So the same rules apply. If you complete the square on one side, you have to make sure you put the same value on the other side for it. And now you simplify it. You finish the completing square process to get it in standard form. If I take a look, I squared a positive 8. So then it's x plus 8. I squared, when completing the square with the y, a negative 11. So it's y minus 11. And then when I add all of this together, I am going to get 205. And so there is my standard form. You complete the square with the x's, you complete the square with the y's, and you move your constants to the other side. And so now I'm going to identify my center and my radius. The center is your hk value. So my center here is negative 8, 11. And my radius, remember this 205 is really r squared. R squared is 205. So then I would take the square root of both of those to give me r. My radius is equal to the square root of 205, which the decimal approximation for this is around 14.32. And so now we're going to look at how do we graph this, which is very, very easy. What you do is you plot your center. I'm at negative 8, 11. That's around right here. And then I use my radius. To use your radius of 14.32, what you would do is you would go up 14.32 units from it. We'll say it's around here because 14 plus 11 is 25. So it's a little bit above 25. And then I would go down 14 units from it. So 11, you subtract 14 is around negative 3. So we'll go say it's around here. and this is just estimating. And then I would go from the center to the right, 14.32 units. So it's a little bit beyond 6. Now I go to the left, 14.32 units. And so it's a little bit beyond 22, negative 22. And then I would connect with the circle. Now, since I estimated my circle, most likely it will not go through the points exactly, but it should be close to it. And so we see it is close. There's our circle. So what do? You plot the center. You go up and down the distance of the radius. You go left and right the distance of the radius, and then just connect with a circle. Let's do another one. X squared plus 2x plus y squared plus 4y minus 11 equals 0. Again, what you want to do, you want to move the constant to the other side. That's going to give me equals 11. I want to pair up the like variables and get it ready to complete the square by putting the placeholder. Remember, if you put a placeholder on the left, you're going to have to put a placeholder on the right. And then pair up the y squared plus 4y with the placeholder on the left, so I'm going to put it on the right. And then I complete the square. Take half the b term, so 2 divided by 2 is 1, and then square that, you get a positive 1. So I get a 1 here, which means to keep it balanced, I put a 1 here. Complete the square at the y's, so you take half of 4, which is 2, and square it, and you get positive 4. And I put a 4 over here to keep it balanced. Now simplify by completing the square process. Take a look at what number did you square for the x. And I squared a positive 1, so it's an x plus 1 quantity squared. And then take a look at what you squared with the y. I squared a positive 2, so it's y plus 2, the quantity squared. And then just 11 plus 1 plus 14 plus 4 is 16. There's my standard form. From here, we can identify our center and our radius. The center here, HK, is -1, -2. So I can go ahead and go to -1, -2, and there is my center. To find your radius, remember 16 represents r squared, so you square root, and your radius, square root of 16 is 4 units. So to use this, what you do is you go up from the center 4 units, mark it, go down from the center 4 units and mark it, go to the right 4 units, and go to the left 4 units. And then connect it with a circle. And there you go. There's the graph of the circle. So this example was meant as practice with completing the square in order to write the equation of circle, how to identify the center radius, and then to graph from there. When you complete the square, you need to pair up the x terms, the y terms, complete the square for both, and make sure you have 2 placeholders on the right side for it.